Yeah, I think AI is still the future.
In your recent podcast, you said death of SaaS is something which you are looking at, you're considering, and you want people to wake up to that truth.
For the first time, actually, we can actually move from a structured to unstructured world.
VC world, it runs on power law, but with the AI, barrier to entry is so low. Do you think power law will get disrupted?
So the power law is dying, but not.
I want to ask your thoughts on rappers.
The companies that are going to blow up are the companies that are the valuation is similar to like a workflow, but they end up being rappers.
What do you need to nail to communicate with C-levels?
Figure out why that person will do this deal.
How do you predict the AI native workplace of 2035? What does it look like?
Yeah, so I think
Hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of Control Alt Podcast. Today I have the good fortune of being with an extremely successful Silicon Valley investor who is trailblazing in the field of cybersecurity, AI, ML, data and infrastructure enterprise startups. I came across his podcast several years ago, but his social media feed is exploding with fan following. I don't know what to say. I just can say that I'm lucky because I'm going to get a lot of funda straightened out about the AI investment landscape coming from IIT into Silicon Valley, what it is like starting off as an engineer and coming to the VC world, and many more things for all of you guys who want to make it in Silicon Valley in the technology landscape. Don't miss this podcast. Pramod, welcome to Control Alt Podcast.
pleasure to be here, and I've been watching your podcast quite a bit last few episodes, so really look forward to this one.
Wonderful. So Pramod, tell us about your early life. You are from IIT Bombay, and you started off your career as an engineer in Sun Microsystems, and here you are as a VC. So tell me, what was your childhood like? What was your home like, and what brought you to IIT Bombay and hence to the Valley?
Yeah, so my family, my dad is an engineer, so he's actually a double engineer. At that time, that's like an equivalent of a PhD. So he was a mechanical engineering as well as a civil engineer.
Wow.
And then halfway through his career, he gave up his job and he started a business. And then we started helping him on the business. So me and my brother actually used to work in the business. It was a fabrication business. So I used to fabricate windows and doors from iron, right? So I really loved working with hand, and that's what got me into engineering. So initially my love actually was mechanical engineering because I like to build structures, right? So when I got into IIT, actually I could get electrical engineering, but initially I took mechanical engineering, and after first year I changed to electrical engineering, mainly because I think what I like to do, like a fabrication, and that's not what they teach in mechanical engineering, and that's a lot of theoretical like fluid mechanics. Other subject that I liked actually was electronics. So during my junior college, like 11th and 12th grade in India, I took the electronics class, and I used to build a lot of circuits actually. So I used to build a lot of amplifiers. And funny thing is, like in those days, TVs did not have remote control. So I actually built a remote control myself
Okay.
with a lot of equipment. So I like both electrical engineering as well as mechanical engineering, but initially I took mechanical and then I moved on to electrical. On the electrical engineering side, I really liked again semiconductors because so I used to work in the fab, manufacturing this semiconductor devices. I really liked it because at that time the chips was a thing, and the chips was one that was propagating the whole web 1.0, like the internet media, right? So, and hardware was very hot in the Silicon Valley at that time. So I was actually lucky to get a job in Sun Microsystems. I was not even looking for a job at that time. I was actually enrolled in a PhD program. So my friend actually gave my resume to his colleague. He called me and he said, just come over for a day. And then at the end of the day, they gave me an offer.
Wonderful.
And so I dropped out of the PhD program and I joined Sun Microsystems as a engineer.
Wonderful. So, as you were describing, it is back. This hands on hardware, civil and mechanical engineering, the Stargate project. They're building data centers for AI clusters, and this whole civil engineering, mechanical, hardware, robotics, the whole physical technologies are back.
Yeah.
There was this whole decade or so over that where software took over. What do you think is that next technology wave the youth should focus on? Here you are from hardware, electrical, mechanical, and then you spent your whole life with infrastructure and software. And today, the kids don't know whether it's AI or is there something else they can learn. So what do you think is, because
Yeah,
I
so-
see the data center boom, right?
Yeah, I think AI is still the future, and we'll talk about it as we go on, right? So I think talking about like the intersection between the software and hardware, right? So the pure robotics has always been very, very hard to do anything out of it, right? So unfortunately, if you look at it right now, like at 2025, we still don't have that much robots around us, right? There's hardly anything out there. But now I feel like we were trying too much, like we are trying to make robots like humans, but now we see purpose-built robots. Like I saw this very interesting video where this robot actually parks cars.
Wow.
So and also the form factor is also very different. So that's another thing, like, if you look at some of the robot movies, the robot looks like a human.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the mistake we did is we tried to create a human, but it doesn't have to be a human form factor.
Yeah.
So like this parking robot it's like a trolley actually. It goes underneath the cars, it lifts them and moves them somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that kind of an automation where it's very, very purpose built. And I think that if you do it right, it's like a huge opportunity.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So Pramod, you made this transition from staff engineer, and I believe your product and engineering is your strength suite. That's what you call as a core thesis of being an investor, and you are a forward deployed infrastructure VC. That's what you call yourself as. That means you love being hands on. I see where it comes from, your childhood, your upbringing. So tell me, what does Blumberg Capital do with VC like you, with such core thesis? And I see you've made investments. You're very cybersecurity first, based on your posts. I could be wrong, but tell me, what is Blumberg Thesis all about, and what's your role?
Yeah, so Blumberg has always been in the early stages, B2B. So we love
Like
IT.
Series A or pre-Series A or
Pre-Series A.
pre-Series A?
So it's pre-seed, seed, and A. And we've always been B2B specialists. And B2B, actually, we are agnostic as a firm. So we invest in IT, we invest in cybersecurity, we invest in supply chain, healthcare, fintech. But every partner comes in and they have their own things that they are very good at, right? So one of my partners, he focus on fintech, another guy focus on marketing. Right now, I'm focused very broadly on AI applications. So it could be AI in cybersecurity, AI in IT, AI in legal tech, everywhere. So I used to do a lot of cyber like a couple of years back, but now I'm mainly looking at the intersection of AI and traditional industries. So it could be cybersecurity as well, but looking at much broader like supply chain and logistics, legal tech.
Yeah, so AI is transforming all these industries, right? So it's a good place to be. In your recent podcast, you said death of SaaS is something which you are looking at, you're considering, and you want people to wake up to that truth. Is it because of the agentic AI wave, or what is your thesis? Why did you call?
Yeah, so I think if you look at SaaS, right, like it started with Salesforce. And Salesforce, Mark Benioff came from a database company, Oracle. Right? So everything at that time was database centric, and a lot of the application has been built like structured data centric, right? So we very much think about like tables and rows, right? So the reason I said that of SaaS is I think for the first time actually we can actually move from a structured to unstructured world, and we actually don't have to even deal with structure anymore, right? So I give this very good example is like, hey, we should just build a next generation SaaS on like a MongoDB, right? So everything is unstructured, everything is a document. So you talk to a customer, his whole profile doesn't have to be tables, it could be text. Then
Yeah.
every single conversation that you do with the person on Zoom, everything is again very unstructured. And the reason that works right now is because of AI, because for the first time you can just throw AI at this huge, humongous unstructured data. And it actually works better on unstructured data, it doesn't work on tables. So, and you can get anything that you want. So the reason I said death of SaaS is like it's a death of SaaS the way we know it. So in two ways actually. One is I think on the UI side. So right now the UI is very much sort of this clunky web-based. Um, I think previously during the mobile era we tried to go from the web to mobile, but we are still not very successful. So now I feel like we need to go to maybe like a voice, right? So you
Yeah.
just talk into Salesforce, hey, show me the leads in this area, or I need to know about so and so, and it actually tells you back, right?
Yeah.
So voice can be like one of that interface. The other interface I think we never really explored is like a touch interface, right? Like touch and others, right? So
Multimodal.
multimode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's on the UI, and then on the whole experience on the backend side is moving from an structured to unstructured. So you don't store anything in a structured way. So if you look at all of that, SaaS looks very, very different than what we are used to. And that's why I said, like, I think the SaaS as we know should be dead because it's just not useful. It's like 20-year-old architecture. It was made mainly like, moving from on-prem to web. The web to mobile and web to cloud didn't do much with SaaS. Now, like from web to AI, I feel like we have the tools right now to completely overdo. Like if you look at a new age Salesforce, it won't be what it is.
Yeah. No, so this is amazing. I want to take you back to that question. Here you are at Sun, and then you assume this really important role at VMware, where you're heading corporate venture capital, corporate innovation and development, and then you move to 11.2 in Blumberg. So you've seen various technology waves. Now you're bold enough to say SaaS is going to be dead, but tell us what were the waves like back then, and how did it progress and get to where you are, and why are you so confident about the death of SaaS thesis?
Yeah, so I think if you look at like the during the Sundays, right, it was the internet, right, everything coming to internet. I think that was a big wave and it created a lot of successful companies like Amazon is a very good example, and everything moved to e-commerce at that time. That was the first wave that I've seen. The second wave was mobile wave. The mobile wave was mainly on the social media side, like with Angry Birds and Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
So it allowed you to do a lot of stuff real time and with photos and others, right? On the cloud side, I would say between the data center and the cloud, it was a big transition, but it didn't bring any new technologies because it was mainly like, hey, you have a data center model, which is a CapEx model, and you move to a cloud, which is a OpEx model, and somebody else is maintaining it for you. So it enabled a lot of innovation. A lot of companies came out of that, like a SaaS companies. But in terms of the fundamental architecture, there was not much like innovation there. So, but again, it allowed for quick iterations and cheaper iterations, right? So now after cloud, which I would say like around 2010, the first AI wave about 10 years ago.
Right.
So it was mainly predictive AI, where you have this algorithms like anomaly detection and clustering, but those were just algorithms, and you needed data. So that's one of the reasons a lot of those companies failed or it didn't work very well, is because you needed the data. Like even if you look at a company like Waymo and Google, they spent like years and years collecting data for their autonomous driving, right? So any company that couldn't generate that much data didn't become successful. Like there's not even like a remotely.
Can I ask you this? Why don't they simulate the data? Why don't they use artificial data? They're capable of creating so many things. I hear this from a lot of companies that they're waiting for data. Why don't they create data?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. And again, synthetic data hasn't worked well in the past.
Synthetic data, yeah.
Yeah, so mainly because you need to train on real world data, right? You can use synthetic data to fine tune a bit, but what I'm saying is that, like, hey, let's just say you want to map out Fremont, right, for autonomous driving. you can't really create synthetic data because you still don't know how it will behave in real
Yeah.
life, right?
Yeah.
So the synthetic data didn't work out well at that time. And not a lot of companies actually had data, like a good data to go and train. There are some companies like fintech, like banks and others, they had data to make their own loan prediction models and others, but everybody else did not have any data, right? And then the second thing at that time was this big thing about conversational AI, like chatbot, right? And the chatbot was very limited, very frustrating. We did invest, we did talk to a lot of chatbot companies at that time, but it was very, very archaic, right?
You mean at the 11.2
Before
capital?
that,
Before that.
at VMware.
At VM. Oh, in corporate venture. Okay.
Yeah. So fast forward, I think when LLMs came in, I think that's where you see like what started 10 years ago with chatbot and voice, it's just come to a very different level right now. So like voice is so mature right now. We use this tool called Granola. A lot
Yeah.
of times I actually can't pick up some of the words because of the accent or because it's low volume, but the tool is able to pick up each and every single word. So
Wow.
it's just ridiculous how accurate it is. And then once you get the transcription right, after that you can do a lot of stuff with that, right?
Yeah.
Somebody was telling me about this customer service company that is doing really, really well. They're able to do a lot of conflict resolution, like, hey, you can say, I didn't get this, I didn't get that. And previously, the chatbots, they just went according to a script. But now these LLMs, they can function. They have a lot more data, so they can function more as a human, right?
Wonderful. Yeah, no, it just amazes me the quality of note taking, how voice to text has matured. So on that note, you have been investing in the AIs in cybersecurity domain. How do you pick your startups? What is Pramod Gosavi's playbook? I know you picked the founder and the team and the execution. There are a lot of theses behind your picks, but you also openly told on some podcasts that some of your investments didn't work, some of them worked. So give me an overall Pramod Gosavi playbook from the corporate venture days to the institutional
So I'll start from
investment.
IIT days. So when you
Why do you say IIT days?
no, because that is both an asset and a liability.
Okay, all right.
So asset is, you can just learn something very new, you get excited about technology, but at the same time you also want to do the best thing, right? So you see a lot of IITians, they work for Google and Facebook because they want to work at the best company, work on the best, like even between Sun and Intel, like everybody wanted to go work at Intel, right?
Yep.
So you think that the technology wins, right? And technology just does win in what I call as a very deep tech use cases. Like VMware was a deep tech company where they did something like really revolutionary. It was, it came out of Stanford, right? It was, so this VMware, and then there are like 100 other companies, like, if you look at Salesforce and others, these are not like deep tech companies, right? They're still very massive successes. So that's where I'm saying that the liability is, you tend to think good technology is the only mode, and sometimes it's not. It's also solving a problem, right? So Salesforce solved a big problem because a lot of the sales guys were in the field. They needed something, they didn't want to log into the Oracle all the time. They want something very cheap and right. So solving a problem, like an emerging problem, is very important. So over the years, I had a lot of, I would say, baggages coming from my education and upbringing. So I first started with like IIT, right? Like thinking that deep tech is the thing and you should just have the best thing out there or none, right? So that was the whole mentality with IIT, just the best and best.
So in your early investment days, that's what the thesis which you had. Okay.
Yeah, and then when I was at VMware, the good thing is we had access to a lot of this subject matter experts, right? So it was both good and bad. Is again, VMware was a deep tech company, so these guys liked very good products, and they always used to find problems with technology, like, hey, this doesn't work that way, that doesn't work that way. So in some cases, obviously, it worked out, but it's funny, like the way it worked out, it has actually helped us cut losses. So
explain that.
Yeah. So there was this one company that it was a very interesting company. It was what they called as a edge CDN. So they said that we will run all kinds of databases on the edge, and you can do a lot more things now that is not possible because you don't need to go to the central database.
Right.
And then later on, we will make it consistent with the central database. So for example, let's just say you're in a stadium and you want to buy some stuff, right? So a lot of times it's slow to go back and do the transaction.
Exactly. Got
So
it.
you can do everything in the stadium itself. So this one guy, PhD and everything, and he said this is just not going to work. Like this is something you need like a blockchain kind of coherence and decision making. It will just not work on its own. So fast forward, if I look at it, it didn't work out. so we did cut our losses. So what I'm saying is like
Very, what do you call it? They have conservative thesis.
it's
Is
not
that right?
conservative. I think what they say is that so they have the last laugh, and they are right, but mainly in a reduce the losses kind of a way, because if you
Absolutely.
look at the successes come from a lot of different reasons, right? So again, going back to at VMware, we invested in this company called JROG.
Correct.
So
It's one of your successful investments. Correct.
yeah, so it's funny, like these guys were doing open source, they were doing this DevOps thing, and they were selling the product for like 3K, 4K, 5K, and they just loved it actually. And everybody on our side is like, hey, there's no moat, it's like open source, and whenever the customer wants to get an enterprise version, then only they call. A lot of them don't call. This is not a good business, right? So
Sounds like PLG. Is
it was PLG and also open source, so it was worse.
That's
actually.
a great combo. No,
No, it was
it's worse.
from
Okay.
from a business perspective.
Business
it was
perspective, yeah, you're right. But
Yeah.
you bet on it. Why?
So we bet on it, I think, for business reasons, because we were going to use their product. It was one of the popular product in our product that we were launching. So we made a decision mainly based on business partnership. We didn't make it based on technology. Yeah, and it turned out to be a huge success.
So can I ask you, how do you think it succeeded? What's the contrarian takeaway? Why did it succeed? That doesn't make sense at all. No business case, but why did it succeed?
Yeah, so why did it succeed is, I think, I fundamentally feel like there has to be a business tailwind behind a company, and
As in what kind of tailwind? Like
okay, so I'll give you an
distribution system. I mean, I feel in this day and age, distribution is very important for AI startups.
Yeah, so in this case, like in JFrog, what they were selling is a code repository. So what helped them is people started building a lot of code,
Right.
and then also people went to this polyglot where people are developing in different languages like Java, and
Yep.
so that just creates more repos and all of that. So it's becoming more distributed, and then they need security around it. So that was a huge, like a business tailwind is like people are generating a lot of code, people are generating a lot of polyglot code, and the code is also becoming very important that they need to protect it.
Yep.
And then they
Yep.
also want automation on top of it, where if I check in some code, the CI/CD pipeline should start and all of that. So that was a business reasons. But having said that, like for a long time, this company was just ridiculous because we just couldn't understand why this company is doing well, because they were selling something at 5K, 10K. And 2 times I actually made a business model. Should we acquire this company? And I said, we should not acquire this company because they only sell at 10K, and we can't even afford selling something for 10K.
Yeah, but still you did, and it did well. So it's one of those contrarian. Yeah, amazing. So that's the best part, right? If you look at your VC world, it runs on power law, but with the AI, the barrier to entry is so low. Do you think based on all your experiences, do you think power law will get disrupted?
Yeah, I think
As in, you put money in 10, 2 will be massive successes, 8 are going to fail. So you still risk the capital. That's what power law generally says. But do you think that's getting disrupted because you have more smarter VC tools as of this day and age?
So I think that's a very good point. But so the power law is dying, but not because of AI. It's
Then what?
yeah, it's something else, because if you notice, like what VCs, where the VC is heading, is there are a lot of this like huge funds, like $5 billion funds, $7 billion funds, like A16Z, General
I've lost
Catalyst.
such huge funds. I mean, AI startups, what's going on? The money is insane. Like,
Yeah. So what's happening there is like talking about the power law, right? So the way it used to work is you're a 100, 200, $300 million fund. The power law is, you invest in one or two companies, like, Benchmark invested in Uber, the $300 million fund, they made it into $10 billion, right?
Yep.
So that used to be the game before. Now it's like, hey, I have this $5 billion. I need to get 2 to 3x out of it.
right.
So they want one power law also, like they want one big company. So what is happening right now is, because it's such a big fund, they want this big bets. So they invest in everything thinking that this is the next Databricks, they are the next Stripe. But what is happening is there's a lot of this consensus investing where the valuations are very high, they're raising a lot of money, and also these are consensus bets. Like, people, like for example, this JFrog, like nobody would have invested back then.
Right.
Because it was not a consensus bet at all. So the power law is dying for two reasons. Like, one is like the larger funds, and second is this whole consensus investing that comes because of that, because you are such a large fund, you can deploy more capital. Also, there's a pressure to deploy capital fast.
Yeah. So do you see the VC funds merging with corporate venture? Do you see that happening? Because Sequoia is partnering with so many corporate venture, the likes of Sequoia and others. I don't know if Blumberg does that, but do you see them working together? Because it's so much easier. Like, you raise the startups and then you direct them.
No, I think the corporate investment works
More
both good and bad. So
you want to keep them separate.
yeah. So when I was at VMware, actually, a lot of the companies that we invested, we didn't want to acquire. The reason is because you know a lot about the companies. I mean, if you acquire, we would just acquire them very quickly after we invested, because we are seeing very good things.
But also the partners you work with, you love them for a long time. You want to acquire them. That is also happening. Or partner or I would say service vendors, right? If you like them.
Yeah, so that happens if you get like a real partnership going.
Yeah.
But if you do something like that, then it's you're capping your upside, right? Like, for example, this company got acquired today, Nozomi. So previous round they had Mitsubishi invest in the company,
right?
And they started working with the company very, very closely, and then they got acquired for a decent amount of money. But typically, that's not what a VC would recommend, is working with one partner and betting your house on that one partner.
Yeah. Amazing. So, this is a wild ride, definitely, I would say, especially with the AI going on. So, I want to ask, your thoughts on rappers.
Yeah,
like
so I think
you mentioned that, but
yeah.
let's go a little deeper in that.
Yeah, so like you talked about AI bubble and all of that stuff. Like, so I was just discussing this with some friends, is like, the companies that are going to blow up are the companies that the valuation is similar to like a workflow, but they end up being wrappers.
Right.
Right. And the difference between that is, wrapper to me is like a $20, $30, $100 per person kind of pricing. And a workflow is like whatever, 10K, 20K, 30K, 50K, right? Because it's doing a lot more. So I'll give you an example. So one of my company, they do financial audit. So they're working on a platform where you can do the whole audit end to end. So that whole audit right now costs about 150K in human expenses to do one audit. That whole thing, most of it can be done. So it can be done as cheaply as like 50K, right? So you can still command a lot of money for that software, right? So that's not a wrapper. A wrapper is something that is very close to the LLM. And there is not a lot of, so a lot of wrappers right now are like LLM plus prompt engineering.
Yep.
And they don't have any customization or any reinforcement learning. So some of them have, that's where they are building the moat, is they learn from the customers, and then they basically like customizing the whole.
That's like Perplexity. They jump on every new model. Like,
yeah, so Perplexity is a classic example of a wrapper. It's a full wrapper.
But it's a very, it's competing with Google search, right? I mean.
So they were competing with Google search before, but fundamentally they are a wrapper. So what they were doing is, they were not competing directly at Google search. They were actually getting the the index from Bing, and then they were running this RAG on top of Bing, right? So they were not a real search engine. They were like a wrapper even on a search engine. So that's a very good example where it's very, so on one hand, they can use any models they can, and they can create productivity. But I don't think there's not even a moat like long-term differentiation. Right.
Because
So,
Google AI mode is equally good. I've
yeah. So right
used
now
it.
I don't
Yeah.
see any
But
like I don't even see a reason to use Perplexity or anything else. So I think that is more important. Is
yeah.
forget the moat. Are there other tools that you can use that are just as good?
Yeah.
If that is the case, then your business is done.
Yeah, I think Claude, you can create really good code. I create a lot of proof of concept with it. What I feel is Grok is more agentic. Like it does the thing compared to Claude. Like, of course, Claude creates websites. Grok actually generates really nice reports. Now, if you look at the moat Perplexity is trying to create, they're moving to browsers. So let's talk about browsers. He wants to create agentic browsers, Arvind Srinivas. So tell me what your take on browsers
Yeah,
is. Very
so-
hot topic, obviously. But
Yeah, so there are multiple aspects of the browser, right? So one is, I think we invested in a company called Anchor Browser, which is
this is
browser.
2025. Or?
Yeah. So
Wow.
it's
Okay, you also bet on.
no, it's not a real browser company. So I'll come to that. So there are three kinds of browser. Like one is, so let's just say you have a developer and you're running some automation. So you actually invoke browser either head or headless or headful. Well, let's just say I want to order something from Amazon.
Right.
Let's just say you want to create an application like that. So they will invoke a browser, they will log in on behalf of you, and then they'll get stuff done.
Right.
But that's more of a developer use case. So that's one use case where you don't see the browser at all. You see the application.
Yeah. That's what makes me think is browser really, is it going to go away? It makes me think that.
So that is a case where it will go away. So you, like for example, you don't have to go to DoorDash or Expedia.
Exactly.
So you have a, let's
Just
just
a
say
voice interface.
you have a travel app and you say, hey, book this
Book
flight
this,
for me,
exactly.
and it gets done, right? So that's one use case of browser. The second use case of browser is basically what I call as a prosumer, which is like an operator use case. Let's just say I'm doing some research on some companies, and that's where this Perplexity Comet comes into picture. Is I want to run some workflows on top of it, and I create some automation on top of it, and let's just say the 5 companies that I want to research, I tell them go to the websites, go to the product website, bring me all of this stuff. That's where that Comet. My view on that thing is it's a very limited TAM because it's more of a prosumer use case where somebody has to invest in that.
Yeah.
Or the company has to come up with a lot of the skills and help you do that. But
invest in the agentic side.
So that is what they call as agentic.
Mm.
And then the third one actually is just like an intelligent browser. So intelligent browser is like what Chrome is right now, which it doesn't do a lot of automation, but it can still automate a lot of stuff for you. So for example, like there's one use case that I use Perplexity for is when I'm searching like a Reddit or something. So Reddit has a lot of entries. So you have to go through all of them. So what Perplexity does a really good job is that it can actually go to the entry and it can pull that entry up for your keyword, right?
Yeah.
So I really like that use case. So there are roughly 3. Like, so one is just like an intelligent browser where the AI is in there and it can synthesize and do some little stuff like, so here the user experience doesn't change. Like you use the browser as it is, but it's better. The second one is where you create a lot of automation, like, hey, I want to order from DoorDash every day at 12 o'clock. And you can create that automation on top of it. And the third one is actually the real automation where you actually don't see a browser at all. And it just gets done.
Wonderful. So Anchor is which one? Which type?
Anchor browser is the first type, which sells to developers. Yeah.
Wonderful. So on that note, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your stint before you started your career in as a VC. So you studied in IIT. You came to Wharton. Is that right? And then you Purdue and then Wharton. So how was that transition for you? Like coming from India, from IIT, and then what's Purdue like? What was Wharton like for you?
Yeah, so Purdue actually, in a sense, it was
Snow. It's a lot of snow.
it's a snow, but I think coming from India, I would say there was no culture shock. So if
No culture shock. Why? Why did
yeah,
a
because
lot
it's
of
a very
Indians? Okay.
no, at that time there were not many Indians, but it was like a very homely place where people are very welcoming. They
Your hometown is Bombay.
Yeah.
So you went to IIT Bombay. Okay.
yeah.
got it.
So the people are very welcoming. It's a small college town. There's not a lot of things going on. There's no crime. There's nothing like that, right? So coming from India, I would say that was the best place. Like for example,
It's like
my other admit was like UC Santa Barbara. If I had gone to Santa Barbara, that would have been a huge culture shock. The whole college is on the beach and everything, right? So coming to Purdue, I think was very good, very very good sort of break into US. So the reason I went back to business school is to
was it after Sun where you realized that?
Yeah. No, it's not. So what happened is, so the reason I went into VC is exactly the same reason is I'm like a problem solver. So I like to solve problems. So when I took my first job, like everybody was just in their cubicle working on what they were supposed to work on, but I started questioning like, why are we doing that? Like, is this the highest priority?
There's no cross pollination of ideas per se.
Not even that. I think it's more about priority is like, so there's a lot of inefficiency in large companies where people are just told to do stuff and people just do stuff, right? And there's like a lot of passive aggressiveness, right? So I actually did like a core engineering for a few years. And then I moved on to become a lead where I was just like, okay, I'm going to tell the team what is the highest priority and what they should work on. So I used to run these meetings every week. And another thing I think with large companies that they don't talk to each other very much. So I myself will go talk to other people. So I made the whole company and the whole
You're a
project.
startup guy. You're such a startup guy. Okay.
Yeah, so I would like proactively go and solve issues because a lot of these guys, they didn't want to solve issues. They would wait for the meetings, right? So that's what I like doing that. And then after my project got finished, we were staffed on another project, but I didn't have the opportunity to do the same thing of problem solving. So that's when I jumped into startups, couple of startups.
How did that go? How was your experience with startups?
Yes, I loved it because it's a problem solving, and you are problem solving all the time, like the first 3 years, right? So intellectually and just like a job reward, it's a very rewarding actually because you feel like at the end of the day you've done something new because in corporates a lot of times you just waste time like waiting for other stuff. Here you don't wait for anything, right? So you're productive all the time. So the reason I actually moved on to VC side is because I saw another problem.
And what was the
so the problem was I think like the marrying technology with business needs, right? So I was just talking about why sometimes the best product doesn't win, right? You need to have some kind of a tailwinds. So my second startup I worked, it was funded by Khosla Ventures, right?
what was it called?
It was called ICOA.
ICOA, right.
So very smart people, they were developing like really, really core technology. I got really excited when I came there. And I have to say, unfortunately, I got disillusioned by technology.
Still you were disillusioned, even though you knew that it's you need a lot more than just working in silos.
Yeah.
Still you got disillusioned.
Yeah, this time I got disillusioned because the technology was very, very, very high tech. Like what we were trying to do, I think, after 2 years, we realized that physically, like laws of physics, it's not possible to do what we are trying to do.
Right.
Right.
What was it? Was it were you in a
No, it was basically it's like an AI processor basically at that time. So
hardware.
No, it had a software element also. So for example, when you take your phone and you start talking, there's noise cancellation, there is translation and everything. So it's for that you need a co-processor. So we were developing this like really low power, very highly efficient processor, but we were pushing.
That's very ahead of time. Those will run now very well in the data center, won't they? Because power and heat were the biggest problems they face. Yeah, so you're like ahead of time.
Yeah, but with the mobile form factor, it was just not possible because you're carrying the device all the time and there's a lot of error and everything, right? But what happened is our VC still funded us. I mean, nothing against Khosla. I think he likes to take a risk, right? He took a risk with the company, but I think internally I felt like our executives themselves were just not understanding the business side of it and technology side of it. So
So
I'll give
can I ask you this? What do you mean by technologies understanding business side? You know, I was at this capital equipment company. They used to make $5 million equipment, $10 million equipment, and the CEO always said, the VP of marketing doesn't understand the business side. So, and then the CEO would step in and make a very robust use case where you can make money. What are the technical founders not understanding about
Yeah,
business?
so I'll tell you, right? So
Yeah.
so the guy who started this company, he was very brilliant. He said, this is what we should do. And if we don't do this, we are bust. Like we should just like zero or nothing, right? So we came in and we worked on it for a year and a half. And then, like I said, I think there were just too many moving factors, right? So me and my boss, who also came from outside, we said, why are we solving such a huge problem? Let's try to solve the problem not from a technology side, from a business side, right? So these guys are trying to solve that problem from a technology side, saying, hey, if we have this architecture and we prove this architecture, everything will take care of itself. And then I said, maybe we should try to solve on the business side. So what we said is like, why don't we work on this architecture, but let's create a architecture which is not as good at like it is good enough, and let's try to solve the business side of it. So the business side of it was, we also had an application, like a noise cancellation application. Like the whole thing was we had to create algorithms for that and everything. So what he said is like, let's just not hold this as a hostage to this architecture. Let's just create an easy architecture.
Yep.
And then we start working on the business side. So that actually worked.
Amazing. So this is customer obsession, right? That's what you're talking about. Like customer, as in you're really focusing on what the other guy, the guy who's paying for this.
Yeah, and
what
also
will he
you
get?
are.
Yeah.
I think that's one other thing that a lot of founders don't understand is, a lot of times they get infatuated by technology. So I have a lot of these guys coming in like, oh, I want to solve this problem, I want to do this, but they don't understand. And I think that is also, again, a liability of coming from IIT is, is IITians, they, when I used to interview before, I used to get like 5 to 10 offers, right? I would never like get any rejection, right? So sometimes that's privilege and you don't have to fight for something.
Right.
But on the business side, I think a lot of these founders don't realize it. It's like you have to fight for dollars, like you have to fight for revenue.
Yep. Which means what?
Which means what is like customer obsession and solving a customer problem.
Yeah.
So a lot of times they come and demonstrate the technology saying, hey, we are doing this RAG, we're doing this and we are doing that. And I keep asking them like, but
what are you solving for? Wonderful. On that note, I want to ask you, look, IITians are brilliant engineers, right? And they are almost like India is outsourcing such amazing, brilliant engineers to the West with a lot of capital. What kind of mindset shift should the IITians make to become great business people? I mean, they learn it, of course, they try, but then really, if you were to go to the IIT curriculum and tell there, add this course, make this difference. There are a lot of startups coming up there, but still they come here and they face this issue of communication or presentation or whatever that is.
So when I went to school, the curriculum was very theoretical. I think the curriculum has changed quite a bit now.
It has,
so, the good thing is like for example, we had like one microeconomics class at that time and one some humanities class that was more or less like a bogus class, right? But now but now I think the curriculum has become so you see a lot of students now going into banking and finance out of right, but there are a couple of things I think I actually like. I did one of the class actually in Wharton that I thought everybody should do it very early in their career, which is business communication, right?
Absolutely.
So a lot of times what happens is like, hey, if you do engineering, you don't feel like you need to know business communication.
Yes.
And I felt like if I knew it and before, even when I was an engineer, it would have been an asset, right? So business communication is basically communicating in different forms, right? So it's either like report, right?
Yep.
So I learned there like how to write a report, like how to create like logical statements to prove what you're doing. So that's on the tech side. And the second side is like audio, right? When you're delivering a pitch, or like how do you deliver a pitch, right?
Can I ask you, is that why your blog posts are going viral? Because your writing is so good and you know what to put. Is it coming from there, or is just something you picked up along the way? Like how to be a,
No, I would
because
say
it's new
no,
for
I
you.
would say like that one class actually really changed me quite a bit, because
There's a lot of humor you bring in, memes.
yeah, and also I think what I learned is also you need to make very compelling statements, right? Like people need to. So there's a lot of people who just report like, hey, this acquisition happened, and this is so and so. But for me, it's always like, so what? Like, why? What's interesting?
Yep.
So that actually works very well for me, is to do some kind of analysis and create some compelling like insight out of it.
So you're distilling like a really compelling insight. So kind of like a hook for people to.
And if you look at that, like when I was at VMware, like day-to-day basis, you're talking to C-level, right? Like CEO and CEO. So they will always come and say like, okay, I have, like literally a lot of meetings used to happen when they're going to the bathroom. Like, so I would go stand outside the office, and when they're going to bathrooms, hey, I have 1 minute, let's chat. And in 1 minute, you have to convince them.
Elevator pitch.
So this one guy actually I convinced from his office to the bathroom on why you should acquire this company.
Oh my God. Okay, so tell us the secret sauce. Like, just tell us, what do you need to nail to communicate with C levels, especially in enterprises? They're busy people buried in their calendar. How do you get on their calendar? Number one. Second, how do you totally smash it when you get that time?
Yeah, so there's one aspect I'm still learning, so which is, so when you're pitching to someone, you need to also always figure out why that person will do this deal, or why should you act on it, like what's in it for that person, professionally and personally, right? So that's one. The second one, I think, is distilling the whole thing down very, very simple. Like at VMware, we used to have this thing called Sesame Street Simple.
Oh, okay.
So Sesame Street Simple is like, like kids watch that Sesame Street show and they can just understand it, right?
Yep.
So instead of saying like, AI enabled Kubernetes and microservices, very simply you say like, what is this company doing?
Okay, give me an example. Say it technically and say it in simple words. Any company you pick. Like, say it in a complicated way. How would you do it? Let's say we pick Claude. How would you say what they do? Not Claude. Claude is a product. Anthropic. Yeah. What does Anthropic do? What do you say?
Yeah. So if you look at Anthropic Claude, right? So you can say that technically it's a best coding model that can pass so many tests, and it's a leaderboard. So that's how you would explain a technically superior product in technical terms, saying it's a top model on the leaderboard. It has it has done really well in this test, right? Like there are different tests and benchmarks. That's a technical way to, like, if I have to go and pitch someone to buy Anthropic, I can pitch them this way, say, hey, this is the best model out there. Or I can go and say like, okay, every single coding assistant like Cursor and everyone, they use Claude, and they're generating so much business out of it.
Yep. Oh yeah. So second one is more, I liked it. That's the Sesame Street way.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Wonderful. So on that note, did I ask you how do you predict the AI native workplace of 2035? What does it look like?
Yeah, so I think the AI native would be, it's other way around. Like right now, so most of the workforce actually will, day in, day out, I would say 80% of the time they would use to train the robots.
Mm-hmm.
So everything will be like a AI first, technology first, and humans only come in where things are not working. So either they're doing some kind of an assurance, or they are overseeing it,
or orchestration,
or they're trying to fix it. So I think that fixing is the big nuance here. Is if you're not continuously fixing something, you never get to automation. Right. So that's the whole thing about like human in the loop, right? So some people think that they should be a human in the loop all the time, And I'm saying that you don't need to have human in the loop all the time unless it's needed by regulation. You should not need it for the technology side, right? If let's just say you come to the doctor and you say what's wrong with you. There are a lot of there's blood tests and everything, and AI comes and says you have so and so, right? And what do you do with that diagnosis, right? Like you still need a
validate it,
human to validate. So I understand that from a regulation and like high stakes perspective, right? But technically, it should still come to the right prognosis and diagnosis. And if it's not coming, people should be working on it on why it's not actually giving the diagnosis. So like I said, I think 20% people would be just there saying, hey, this looks okay, and 80% people trying to get the tool to do what it should be doing.
Wow, that's a different world. Oh my god. So there'll be a whole new wave of
so I think that's why I think the like you need to not only just use like AI tools, you need to get comfortable with training and making it work, right? So that those are the kind of skills that are going to be very successful. So like for example, like you're in finance, right? Like you have a APAR tool. Okay, you know APAR, but can you teach the tool to do it the right way? And you need to be comfortable that, hey, look, I don't need to do the job, and at the same time I don't need to correct for it.
Yeah.
But I need to train it and teach it.
Yeah.
And 2-3 days, if the tool starts doing everything fine and you're not really needed, it is still fine actually.
Yep.
I think you'll see people get fired because they are worried about their jobs being taken.
Yeah.
But I think the more you make yourself redundant, the more power. It's very non-intuitive. It's like the more you make yourself redundant, the more powerful you can be.
Yeah, wonderful. So, sitting here in 2025, we're looking at this vision in 2035. What are the top 3 AI innovations you would personally want to be in the works? Like you'd like, I wish these top 3 things come in, and they kick off. Or I want maybe UC Berkeley Labs to work on this idea. I want this idea to be worked on in Stanford or some other Ivy League, whatever. So what are the top 3 ideas? Looking at this 2035 vision, we're sitting here in 2025. What are the top 3 things you can think of?
Yeah, unfortunately for me, that's more on the personal side. And these are not like investable, but I can say like what should be done. So one is like personalized education. Right. So,
yep,
so the education right now is like, you go to a lecture and
sit in a class, trapped in a class for an hour or so. And
then like I remember when I used to go to IIT, like, they like 50-60% people will understand the class, other people not understand the class.
Yep.
And there's nothing to help them out, right? If you're smart and you can do it, otherwise other people.
So like the Khan Academy approach with an AI first kind of tutor, where humans are still needed, human-centric, but yeah.
And also I think the nuance with that, I think like even my personal thing, right? Like I think everybody has their strong points and weak points.
Yep.
I feel like the weak points never get worked on.
Yeah.
Because the culture is not there to work on your weak points. So you always go with where your strong points are. So that's one. The second one is, I think, obviously, like healthcare, right? Like more getting access to everybody.
Yeah, wonderful. So that's definitely a personal goal. I was thinking IITs are known for grit because IIT curriculum throws a lot of problems which are beyond solvable, and the students figure out how to do it. So it's basically you're living in a problem-solving space, and they keep raising the bar from day one, right? So do you think that education system is good? Because with personalized coaching, what happens is they come meet you where you are, the coaches or the teachers. Where is the bar to improve? Like, should they gamify it, or how do you the whole IIT and that robustness? How do you create that in an AI first world education system? Because you went through it. Obviously, you've done so well for yourself. You've been at Purdue, Wharton, and then obviously you've been a great VC, and literally all the CEOs here in the Valley and outside. So you did something right. Then how do you keep that level of merit in education?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. So when I meant personalization, I think one aspect of that is obviously meeting where you are, right? But the other option is also catering to your own personal needs that can make you successful, right? So to answer your question, I think you're talking about the reason, it's just the making these exams hard and everything, right? So what I'm trying to say is that just by making the exams very, very hard, and some people making it and they're developing that grit, that's what I'm saying, that yes, they will do well for themselves, right? So a lot of these guys, like a lot of my colleagues from IIT, they walked into Google and all.
Yep.
They're making millions of dollars of salary, right?
Yep.
So I think that is still there, but I think what I'm questioning is that can we do better?
Yeah.
Like, so a lot of these guys could have done even better if they had this additional personalized coaching.
Like a growth mindset. If you're not good at something, we'll help you.
The other thing is, I think, like, one other thing that I struggle a lot with founders is self-awareness.
Explain. How do you mean?
So yeah, so education actually doesn't teach you self-awareness. So self-awareness is, it's funny, it's not like accepting that I'm not good at it, but knowing what you're not good at it.
Yeah, and be okay with it. What needs to be done, get there.
Yeah, so I see that, like, in startup, like starting from a CEO, right? You don't need to be good at everything, but you need to know where you're hurting the company, like what you should do, what you should not do, right? So one example I can say that a lot of founders, if they're technical or they are a subject matter expert, like, they're a CISO, CFO or whatever, right? Like, so the marketing skills is not natural for them, right? How to message the company and all of that, right? So, but a lot of times they will insist that they have to own this. Hey, I'm the boss. I need to own messaging. And I'm like, no, you don't need to. Like, you need to just get things done.
That's a hard one. Yeah, no. I'm thinking. I'm putting myself in the shoes. How do you do that? I mean, because I do my own messaging for my company. Getting rid of that and giving it to someone, wow, that's a big jump.
Like, that's what self-aware means, is like, okay, what do I want at the end of the day? I want a very good, better product. Does it matter if I own 100% of it? Does it, if I give it to someone and the person owns 40% of it, 60% of it, can I still get a better product? I think that is what self-aware means, is, and focusing on the outcome.
Yeah, and doing what is required. If it means bringing someone in, then bring them in. If they're better at it, let them do it, right?
Yeah, at the same time, like the multiple aspects for it, right? Like, it's a delegation also, delegating also. But I think what I've seen is a lot of times, it's not that you don't have the people around you. It's not a delegation problem also. People just don't know that, you need to take help and you need to give people benefit of doubt.
So what's your toughest problem being a VC that you've solved?
I think this is the biggest problem, self-awareness.
Teaching founders how to be self-aware and
getting
because them to do
I feel like, they have everything around them. They have VCs around the table. I feel like in every of these companies that has not worked well, we had the right people at the table.
Wow.
It is just that the decisions are not being made.
Wow.
And not taken advantage of.
Wonderful. On that amazing note of being self-aware, I'd like to wrap up this podcast with the very happening social media giant influencer in Silicon Valley, Pramod Gosavi.
Thank you.